In this video, we are going to get some managers working, so that way we have a game over state for losing and winning. We can get some text on the screen when you win or lose, and we can get our fuel bar working. So we're going to get a lot of systems working together. So we're going to jump right in to Unreal, starting first. So the state of our game is we can start and quit. When we start, we have our ship, and we have a little fuel bar that does nothing, and we have some text on the bottom of the screen that does nothing. But our ship can actually fly. In theory, he can crash if I crash him properly, and when he lands on the ending point, he can win. But we kind of don't have a full game state yet, so we're going to rectify that. Our game mode is the central core for what we're going to be doing. It's kind of always there, and it's meant to determine the game mode, stuff that's happening in the game. So we're going to quickly jump into here, and we're going to stub out a few things. We're just simply going to make a custom event called game over win. And then we'll make a custom event called game over lose. So pretty simple. And this is going to basically do stuff. So when you win, it's going to take you to the next level. Or if you're at the end of the game, back to the main menu. And if you lose, it's going to restart your player after 2 seconds. I can actually why don't we do that? Delay. So we're going to slap a delay of 2 seconds here, since we already know that's going to happen. Ah, hell, we'll put one here in the wind too. There we go. So all that's going to happen is that'll delay for 2 seconds. I mean, nothing else, right? You know what? We're already here. We said we're stubbing these out. Print string. You win. Copy paste. You exploded. Okay, cool. Now, I mean, for reals, we have something stubbed out. How do we determine win or lose? Well, win is determined technically by our platform. So where's our platform? Here's our platform. We have code right here, right? Is player in the collider, is in bounds, and then, yep, so here's where we're going to stick our code in here. So if the player is properly there, we're going to kill our timer, so we no longer check to make sure they're in bounds. And then we're called win. So get game mode. Now we're going to need to cast the game mode to the proper version. So we're going to call the lander version of it. This way we know exactly which game mode we're talking to, because my main menu game mode has functions that my lander one doesn't. And as the lander, we're going to go ahead and do, what do we call it? Game over win. And that's it. In Unity, we're going to be working with our own created manager, so then we don't need to do stuff like this because we'll have references to it. So that's one of the main differences with Unreal Engine, because you have things like game mode, HUD, player controller. They're soft references, and then you need to specifically make them hard and cast them to get the exact object. Whereas with Unity, you actually have a hard reference all the time for these items, because you're talking to a specific one, which you set up usually in advance. But that should work. So that should be our game over win. So where's our game over lose? That's down here, right? That's part of our destroy actor. So this will destroy our player. So let's go back over here and steal our code, because we want this stuff right here. Yep. And then we'll do this. Grab our lander, and we'll do lose. So game over lose. So let's see. Hit play. Start the game. Let's see if I can kill myself. Oh, that didn't work. You exploded. Oh, because I waited 2 seconds. Duh. Okay. And then, in theory, game over win should be the same thing. Nope, 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 nope. Oh my gosh, I overshot that one way too much. Come on. And then after 2 seconds, it should say you win. There we go. Cool. So we know those interfaces are working. We just need to actually, put in a respawn and go to the next level and stuff like that. Which we'll do once we get the rest of the user interface working itself. We're already here. Never mind. So game over win. So game over win should display text that we win, wait 2 seconds, and then go to the next level. So we need to unhook these and put them here. These are going to be replaced with interface calls to our, not interface calls, but calls to our UI. So let's see, get HUD. I don't want the HUD class. Oh no, I don't think my game mode can call the HUD, can it? I just thought about that. Give me a second. No, well, maybe it can. Never mind. That was weird. Huh, it didn't context sensitive. Anyways, so this gets our HUD, cast it to our lander version. So now we have the specific HUD that we want to talk to. And then, of course, in there we have a bottom text. We called it text bottom, right? Didn't we? HUD lander? Ooh. Oh, duh. No, HUD lander holds our interface. So we get the UI. This is our reference. So this is how we can get our UI easily from anywhere. I know it seems like a bit much, but it is kind of softed because there could be 100 different items in the game, and I don't need to have all of them grab the UI object. They can just grab it when they need to by doing this. And then we get bottom. There we go, text on the bottom screen. And then we set the text. And we set the text. Set text. There we go. There you go. And then what was this? Did we win? Yes, we wait. Game over. Win. Yes. You have you have landed your lander. I was about to type successfully, but I can't remember how to spell successfully. I'd rather not look it up. There we go. You've landed your lander. Wait 2 seconds, and then we're going to open level. And we're going to open the same level again for now. We're going to change this to, did I call it game level? I hope I did. Game level 1, yeah. So right now all we're going to do is reload the existing level. We're going to create a second level eventually once we start designing our layout. And when we do that, we're going to put in a little helper to allow us to know which level's next. But for now, restart the level basically. And let's just cheat, and we'll steal all this code from here. Bloop and bloop. Because we're going to want to do the same thing. So when you lose, you have exploded your lander. Shame on you. Delay for 2 seconds, and then restart the level. Okay, seems simple enough. Start the game. Let's see if we can kill our lander. You have exploded your lander. Shame on you. Restarts the level after 2 seconds. Whee! And oh, too fast. Coming in too hot. There we go. You have landed your lander, and it should restart. Cool. We're good. We need fuel. We need to... Shit, we don't even track her. We don't do anything with the fuel right now. You could go forever. So let's fix that. We need fuel, and we need a gauge working for the fuel. So where is our fuel at? Our fuel should probably be in our player. Let's find our player. Let's give him a fuel variable. Call it fuel. Let's make it a float. And I'm actually going to kind of cheat because the sliders are 0 to 1 range. 0 is 0%. 1 is 100% on a slider or the progress bar. I'm just going to make fuel 0 to 1. I'm going to make it really simple. So 0 is empty, 1 is full, and then just change it accordingly. I'm also going to make it editable because our future levels are going to allow us to modify your starting fuel. So we can make a power up and collect some gas. So there we go. So we got the fuel. Where's the best place to put this? So anytime you activate the thrust, this is when it turns on the particle effect. Anytime you deactivate it is when it shuts it off. But technically, unless we continually cycled, like for example, if thrust equals active, every 10 seconds remove 10 fuel, it's going to be annoying. We already technically have something in place that handles that. So if we go to our, where's the player control framework? There we go. We go into our lander, our player controller. We technically already, right here, check for that. Every time you're using your thruster and it adds force, we could just remove fuel. Simple as that. So here's our ship. So let's grab our ship again. Where's my variable? Here we go. Let's grab our ship. And can we set? Yeah. So we can set our fuel directly. This is not what we're going to do, but we can do it. I just want to show you. So we'll do 0.5 to make sure it works. So anytime, if we were to hit up, in theory, our fuel should go to 0.5. Oh, well, our fuel goes to 0.5, but our interface doesn't. So that's kind of the other thing. We need to update the value, and we need to update the interface. And we only want to do it whenever we actually lose fuel. So we need to make sure we do it properly. So we're just simply going to talk to our ship and tell our ship to go ahead and change the fuel. So go back to our player, and we'll make another custom event. And we're going to call this one change fuel. And what this is going to do is we're going to take in a float. So we'll call this new value. I want the ship to handle everything. So we're going to go with new value. We're going to call it a float. We're going to call this change value. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it, change value. And this is going to add or subtract fuel really simply. So we're going to grab the fuel, and then we're going to add a float. So whatever fuel number we pass in, and then we're going to take the fuel, we're going to set it to that new value. Simple as that. Now I already know I need to do something here, because what if we get more fuel later and it puts us over full? We're going to have an issue. So we're going to clamp. We're going to clamp between 0 and 1. So that way, no matter what, you can never have more than full fuel, and you can never go below 0. And now all we have to do is call change fuel with a positive number to give it fuel, or a negative number to remove fuel. And then we're going to change our interface. So now we're going to talk to our interface, tell the progress bar to update itself to whatever our current fuel value is, and be done. And we only call this whenever we actually have a button down, therefore we're as efficient as possible. We're not checking every frame. So this is what we would do, and this is not what we're going to do. So we would do get player controller, and then we're going to get the HUD, and then we're going to cast to the HUD lander, and then we're going to get the UI, and then we're going to get the fuel bar. And this long chain, we do not want to do this every single time we change the gas. That's just silly. This is going to be static. We only care about the fuel bar. So why not just do this? Promote to a variable, and call this one the fuel bar reference. And then we take this code, cut it out of here. Do we have a begin play event? No, we don't. So let's find the begin play. Where is it at? I know you're hiding. There we go. Create a begin play. Boop. Pop it in here. And now I'm going to move this up because I like it up. I always like begin play at the top. Now when the player is spawned into the world, it's going to grab the HUD, grab the fuel bar reference, and store it for later use. So now you will always have a reference to that fuel bar later. And then we can go back down here now, and we'll grab our fuel bar, and then set percent equal to the new fuel value, like that. And now, in theory, let's find out, it should change, assuming we called this, which of course, I didn't. So set fuel bar reference. So we have a small issue here. This is one thing I was kind of worried about. And yeah, so access none. So the player itself looks like it was created before the UI was created. So we kind of ran into an issue here. I had a feeling that was going to happen, which I was worried about. I am slightly deviating from what I did before, just in case anyone was wondering, because this generally tends to happen. So what is the best way of doing this? I'm trying to double check something. So what am I doing wrong here? Let's make sure. Oh, did I actually do it right? That would probably be the smart thing. Let's see. So here's my here is my player. Okay, so let's find out where my code reference went wrong. Okay. None, trying to read property UI from function set fuel bar. Okay, so the UI is wrong. So this is wrong right here. Because when we get to here, I bet you, let's find out. Bloop. Okay, so this is our HUD lander. Yeah, but our HUD lander probably hasn't created our actual UI yet, is kind of where the problem comes in. So we have an issue. Yep, that's what I thought. So begin play. So there is, um, I think to resolve this in the most efficient way, we are going to uh, hmm. Okay. So we have a small issue here. We have the HUD lander, which I created, which can control the HUD. And then we have the player's fuel bar, which is part of that HUD. The issue comes from basically an order of operations. The HUD gets created probably roughly the same time as our player gets created. But while the HUD is initializing and creating its user interface references, the player is trying to talk to it and get its user interface references. And that causes a small issue because, well, it's not created properly. Um, this is one of those things you can always run into in games. There's lots of different ways of taking care of this. We can split the interface out, and we could have it where only the player controls their HUD information. So, for example, the player controls the fuel bar, whereas the HUD and the game mode itself controls the text. We could make it where it's delayed. So, for example, we can just go here and do delay 1 second. And this way, 1 second after the game starts, we get access to this. So that way, it's your HUD is basically guaranteed to be started because order of operations, your HUD probably takes less than 1 second. But then you're kind of waiting on other things. So, the best way of doing this is to ensure that we have certain things set up. Now, this is our player, and then we have the player controller. Now, does our player controller have reference to our player? It does. It has reference to our player's ship. We could technically do something like this. I don't think this is the right way to do it. More than likely, if I was going to do this properly, I would try to keep because if your player is dead, for example, you probably don't care about the um, fuel bar. So if you thought about it like that, kind of like you have a player and there's certain statistics and things that are uh, part of your player, the user interface is one of them. The fuel bar doesn't really matter if you have a dead player. So if our player dies, we probably don't care about accessing our fuel bar, so then it's not really an issue. I would probably have my fuel bar itself as its own widget as part of the player's user interface. What I'm going to do is another way, and I'm basically going to have the HUD tell, and hopefully this works, but I'm going to have the HUD tell the player once it's been created. So, for example, I can do get player controller. Now the problem with this is I'm relying. Nope. See, never mind. I can't do this because if I tell the HUD once it's created to tell the player controller to tell the player that the interface was created, then I'm relying again on both of them to be created at the same time. So the smarter thing would be to have it split out. So we have to do that. So there we go. This is one of those things where you have to think about because in Unity, everything's going to be created at one time because it's all part of your scene. So you can have it created as it spawns in, and then you have hard references because your player object already has a reference to that UI because it already exists in the scene. In this case, it doesn't. So user interface, and we'll just call this one UG player. We'll go into our game level, grab our fuel bar, copy it, UMG player, and we'll paste it in. There's our fuel bar. We're going to lock this to the bottom left corner of the screen. Reset all these things. Oops, I did not mean to reset the sizes, but whatever. Can I resize bar? Thank you. There we go. That's a bit too big. Okay, but there we go. Now I have my fuel bar. created inside my player. We'll go inside of our UMG game level. We'll get rid of our fuel bar. And we're done. So that'll be fixed. So the HUD will be created by the HUD, which the game mode cares about. And then our player itself is going to create its own fuel bar reference is what we're going to do. So we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need, technically that. We'll set that one there. Create widget. And player. And then we will, you know what? I'm just going to do this. Because we might need more parts of the UI later. You never know. You might add in like a power-up menu or something like that. So the player itself has its own UI. And then we'll add that to the viewport like that. There we go. So now the player itself creates its own UI and has its own UI. Let me target. Oh, there we go. And then we'll do this. So now we go to fuel, grab the UI, get fuel bar, set %. And now we have the ability to set the % like that. And it's all set by the player itself. So the player itself is controlling the fuel bar now. We should have no errors. There we go. So now we can go back to our controller. Save, framework, player controller. And now we can go back to our player ship and change fuel. And let's see. Let's just go with -0.1 and see what happens. Ooh. Change. Oh, did I? Oh, 0.1. That's way too big. Way too big. Okay, and that's obviously going too fast. So we don't want that. So what is a good way of doing this? So every time you push the button when we have fuel, but it also depends on your frame rate. So we kind of have a small issue here we're running into. We have our amount of fuel that we're going to lose is not frame rate independent. If I'm running at 200 frames per second, then this event's going to get called 200 times per second, and I'm going to lose 200 units of fuel. Probably not what we want. So we need to figure out how to make sure the fuel itself is appropriate. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the world delta seconds. This is basically the delta, the time delta in Unity, and this will basically be how much time it was from the last frame to the current frame. So if you take this and you multiply it by however much I want to lose, so let's say in this case, every second of thrust I want to be 0.1. Actually, let's say you can go with, for testing purposes, this is 10 seconds of thrust in theory. Now, no matter how long, it should, I'm not subtracting. That would probably be helpful if I subtracted it. There we go. Now the fuel will go down by an even amount. As long as I'm holding it down, no matter how many frames per second I get, you're going to have that much time that elapsed since the last frame. And if I'm holding it down, it's going to go ahead and remove that much fuel. Now you can see it's going down as I hold it up. And it's only going down on the down because I haven't added this to the other ones. So there we go. Do that. There's a change fuel. We need that on our other input. And the nice thing is we'll just copy, paste. And now anytime we have fuel be going down, see I'm holding to the right, so the fuel's going down. Holding to the left, holding up, let go, thrust, 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 and eventually I'm going to explode. Bloop. Okay, cool. So we have that going down. We have fuel being changed, and it's going to be normalized for the most part. So we shouldn't have an issue with that. We have kind of the small issue where our fuel bar isn't getting set properly on start. So this is our change fuel. Easiest way of doing this is where's our begin play event right here. So after we create the widget, we'll just call change fuel. And we'll set it to 1. So this is going to go ahead and add 1 to our fuel, which means it's going to set itself to full. And now we start off with full. See? There we go. So now our user interface looks like it's working. We have a number. We're not checking for win or lose conditions on the fuel. We probably should. I'm not concerned about that. I don't even think I'm going to implement that. Um, Actually, you know what? There's a super simple way of implementing this. Where is our controller? This is the add force. Where is what's the easiest way of doing it? It's right here, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna go fuel. We're gonna get the fuel value, and if fuel is greater than 0, we're actually gonna do stuff. And if you run out of fuel, then you can't do anything. So we'll make it really simple, just like that. So we'll copy these 3 branches right here. These go before the add force. You can notice some of these are really ugly looking. I kind of like gave up halfway through making these pretty. You can spend a whole couple hours just making this stuff pretty. There we go. So now in theory, if we don't, oh, I don't have the ship plugged in. Bloop, like that. There we go. Now, once I run out of fuel, I should no longer be able to go. So let's find out what happens. Okay, I got a little bit of fuel left. Oh no! Ah, and I crashed. Okay, so there we go. We can also make it where is valid, and then right here, where if you have fuel, if you run out of fuel right here, then we can call, what do we call? Deactivate thrust. We can call deactivate thrust on all 3 of them. There's lots of things we could do when you run out of fuel. But for now, we're just basically, you'll fall to your death. And once we add in the rocks, it won't be an issue. But with that, that is going to finish it inside of Unreal Engine. We have added in the basic user interface stuff, and we've added in the ability to talk to a game manager. The manager can tell if we win or lose, and the fuel bar works properly. So let's jump over to Unity, and we should be able to quickly match those features. So we'll jump into Unity, and where are we looking at? So we have our text on the bottom screen. We have our fuel bar. Nobody actually does anything with it, so we are going to do that. So let's make a new empty game object. We're going to call this the game manager. And this game manager is going to handle stuff like what our game mode handles in the other one. It's going to have a reference to the UI. It's going to have a reference to, the fuel bars and stuff like that. And it's going to do stuff. When things need to happen, it's going to be the central pivot point of everything. Because I technically need something to handle game over. So we'll have that. Okay, yeah. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah. So let's go back into scripts, create C# script, and this one's the game manager. Yeah, I'm thinking as I'm talking, of course, because this is how it happens generally half the time. Can I have that on there? Thank you. I'm thinking I'll have the player directly access the fuel bar, and I'll have the platforms directly access the game over text. We'll just have the game manager handle the game over stuff. So let's see, we have public void game over win and public void game over lose. And so what do? We did so we need public text. It's text, right? Oh, it's text, but I don't have the right include, so that'll have to pop up here in a second. Yeah. Use engine. There we go. Public text, bottom text, and then we do bottom text dot text is equal to you have landed your lander. Lander. Okay, that's close enough. And then we have to delay 2 seconds, and then we're going to reset. Okay, you are not supposed to pop up. Where'd you go? There we go. Stupid thing. I hate when that happens. Random stuff just decides to do whatever it wants. So we're gonna have to do a yield return. Wait for new wait 4 seconds, and then 2.0. And it's going to give me complain because it's not an IE numerator. Numerator. Thank you. But that should be fine. And then we'll have go and just reload the scene manager, of course. Manager.load scene. We're just going to reload the current level right now, so we'll go ahead and do that. So that was, I can't even remember. I literally just created these an hour ago, and I can't remember the name of the scene. Come on, game level 1. Okay. Game level 1. Okay, so game level 1, and oh yeah, I gotta fix this because it doesn't like it. One negative for C#, obviously, as you may have noticed, is sometimes you have to find the right namespace and make sure you have the right using. Nice thing is, I am using a stock version of Visual Studio. I don't have Assist or I can't remember the other one. Anyways, I don't have any of the add-ons that allow better C# integration. So by default, just with the Unity stuff, the autocomplete works fairly well. Yeah, that should be it. Okay, so that's the game over. So game win. Lose should be pretty simple. You have exploder rated Lunar Lander. Changes to an IE numerator. And you need IE numerators because these are asynchronous operations, and we have to basically pass control back to other stuff while it's yielding control. Yielding control. Basically, for the wait 4 seconds stuff to run, you have to do it like this. That's how it is. It's C#. It's just simple as that. The answer to why we do it like that is because it's C#. And then we're going to do when you game over. Well, it's the same thing right now, right? We don't actually have it do anything special. We haven't created a second level, therefore we can't do anything special. Okay, but that should be it. So all we have to do now is have our items talk to the game manager and call game over win or game over lose. And by items, I mean platform, because our platforms control everything. Platforms are gods. And technically anything else that can explode, but we haven't added anything else that can explode. Okay, so here we go. So should not check for collision, and then let's see, we're going to have a public game manager. We'll just call it manager. And then we'll do manager. Win, right? This is game over win. Well, I hope that's game over win. I think it is. This will destroy the player, and then we do manager dot lose. Okay, cool. That should handle the basics. We should have a win and a lose condition, and as long as we set them up, which of course I forget every time, in our game manager, we set up our text to be here. Come on, come on, come on. Can I have my text, please? There we go. And then as long as our platforms, so let's find our platform. Our platform prefabs. See. Oh, I knew this was gonna be a pain in the butt. Yeah, because this is a oh, it's a prefab, but I'm gonna end up screwing up. Yeah, it's gonna end up screwing up. Oh crap. Oh, I keep grabbing the wrong thing. Of course. Thank you. There we go. And then on my start platform, to be right there. There we go. And file, save scene. So there we go. They should be able to start to our game manager. They can apply. And then should probably make, I'm thinking I should make 2 different platforms would be smarter. Yeah, because I'm screwing up things when I'm doing reapplying to the defaults. Because that's the way prefabs work. I'm technically saying rewrite back to the original blueprint or prefab, and that's kind of screwing things up. I should not have done that. Well, whatever. Close enough. Okay, let's see what happens. What did we add in? We didn't add fuel yet, but we should be able to have win or lose pop up. Should be able to. Apparently we didn't. I'm all the way in, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's find out what we did wrong here. Manager, game over, win, right? Game manager, game over, win. Oh, because uh, these are coroutines, and I'm not starting them up. Okay, can I have my platform back? Thank you. Start coroutine. I'm 99% sure this is the problem. Well, easy enough to find out. Just one of those idiosyncrasies when you're playing with C#. Try this again. Yep, Lander. Okay, cool. Go back and fix that over here. These are things that bite in the butt, especially when you're learning these things. And just the small differences. Nothing really special. You can't use delays inside of functions in Unreal Engine 4. They have to be in the main event graph. And you have to do coroutines in order to do things that yield and delay time. So yeah, so that started. So we're good there. We are missing our fuel gauge now. So our platforms should be done for the most part. We have a game manager that handles game over and winning and losing. So we're good there. Our main menu handles the main menu, so that's not an issue. So we are on fuel. Since this is part of our player and our player controls everything, our player gets to control the fuel nice and easy. So public, was it slider? I think it was a slider. Let's find out. Pretty sure. Using energy, there we go. Public slider, fuel bar. Okay. So anytime we are adding force, we are going to adjust that. So fuel bar dot percent new value. There you go. Value is equal to plus equal negative 0. Let's see. Fixed update is called at a fixed amount of time, which means anytime this is called, you're going to be pretty much guaranteed. But the nice thing is it doesn't really matter. So we'll do the same thing as before. F times time dot delta time. So we'll do the same thing as we technically did in Unreal Engine. Okay, copy that. And anytime we are adjusting force, we adjust the fuel bar, and that should be that, I think. As long as we have a fuel bar set up. So let's find the fuel bar. Player. And it should... Fuel bar, check. Fuel bar, check. Apply, check. Play. Let's find out. Okay, and it is working because you can see it is going down. Ooh, I could drag that. I probably want to adjust that, don't I? That's awesome. I probably want to fix that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it is going up and down. Okay, so, but the issue here is technically I was adjusting the fuel bar, not the fuel itself, so that's not what we really wanted. Float fuel. Let's move this down here. Fuel equals 1.0 F. And we actually want that public because I want to be able to adjust that in a later level. And this is fuel. And then fuel bar value is equal to fuel. There we go. That way we keep things separate. That's technically what we want right there. That way we adjust our fuel. We definitely need to still clamp, especially if we add a power up, we could set directly. So you'll notice in here, in Unreal Engine, we created a function to handle this. In this one, we're kind of just shoving it into our player script. We can make a function for it and do the same thing, but it's not really going to give us any benefit. You kind of have to do functions in Unreal Engine and using Blueprint, so things kind of group together organically that way. This one, it's a script. You can put everything in one friggin' long-ass loop if you wanted to. I mean, you could technically do that in Unreal Engine too, but accessing it from other places. So it's kind of a negative because we're accessing it from here. I need to fix this friggin' fuel bar, though. There we go. Pretty sure that fixed that. Let's find out. Get it to land. There we go. Can't interact anymore. There we go. And you can see our value changing right here. So if I go and I let go, now it stops. And if I push it, it goes up. And you can see it going as I fly. And then in theory, if we land properly or explode, boom, you've exploderated your lander. Cool. So we're good there. We have that small issue before, like we ran into, where fuel bar dot value is equal to fuel, where it doesn't start off full. So now it'll start off full. Double check that. I think we're good. Should have a full fuel bar, which unfortunately, because we use the slider, we kind of need to adjust a couple things here to make it look better. So let's see. Is it, am I resizing? Where's the widget? There we go. I think that'll do it. There we go. Okay, cool. Looks a little better. That'll work. And I think I had this, whoops, Control Z. I meant to do this as 1, so we can match. I think my insert key's on. Yep. There we go. Now it should at least match the Unreal version, and we should be good. Make sure it floats down. There we go. Woo, look at that. Look at that gas go. We ain't going to make it nowhere. We are certainly going to crash. That is not one thing I would keep. Oh, no. Ugh, and exploded. And then we restart. Now, this is one of the things I mentioned. We are going to have a weird little issue here. I knew I was going to fix this at some point. Can I have my, where's my ship back? Here, let me find my player, zoom in. You'll notice the ship's black. The ship's black because by default you have some weird lighting settings in, not Unreal Engine, the Unity. So we need to go into our lighting and we need to adjust our lighting settings. So by default we have skyboxes, and skyboxes are sending out light to our ship. So let's get rid of our skybox. So we have none now. Ambient color we're going to set to white so that we can actually see stuff. And we don't need global illumination or baked global illumination. And I think this was good, right? Gradient actually looks pretty cool. Let's just go with color for now. And there we go. And I'm pretty sure that is fine now. So if we restart our level, and we go up, and we fall and explode, it should come back and the ship should look, yep, see, and the ship looks fine now. It's just some default settings with the default lighting, with the way it works. It works fine when you build it out, but in the editor, it doesn't take into effect until the level's reloaded. So it's kind of annoying if you're just playtesting. But it's fixed. So now we have a flat light. I think I might change that back to gradient. We'll see what gradient looks like. It's kind of cool, I think. Let's go back to our main menu and find out. Because the nice thing is it goes into effect when you switch from one level to another. Let's see, start game. Yeah, that looks kind of cool, right? Oh, I apparently exploded my lander again. Yep, that'll work. Okay, cool.